Well, good evening on this Monday night. Welcome to the University of Dubuque Football Show. Head football coach Stan Zweifel joining us from inside the University of Dubuque coaches' offices here on the UD campus after the Spartans come up with a big 66-14 win over the Simpson College Storm this past weekend at Chalmers Field. Spartans run the record to 3-1 in American Rivers Conference play and get that record to 500 on the season at 3-3. And look ahead now to this Saturday's game with an undefeated in conference play Coe College team when the two meet in Cedar Rapids. And we're going to talk about the game this past Saturday, talk about that ball game with head coach Stan Zweifel right now. And coach, you know, you wanted to get off to a fast start in the ball game, but I don't even know if you could have predicted that fast of a start. As it was 21-0 before you could blink an eye.
Pretty supersonic speed it was, wasn't it? We had talked about after our BV game the week before, we had played a really good second half, Tim, and our emphasis in the week was to try to continue to play at that. I don't know if speed's the right word, but trying to play at the excellence and being able to execute both offensively and defensively. And I will mention this, Tim was really interested. The game had a heavy wind, probably the first wind game we've played in this year. And we made a decision that if we would win the coin toss, we would defer. And we did win the coin toss, and we deferred, and they took the ball. And we kicked off, and they got it at about the 23, 24-yard line. And they did a play-action pass to start the game. And Ben Rashid, one of our outside backers, was really probably in the wrong place, but at the right time.
I like it.
Yeah, that's how those things work. And I don't know if the quarterback ever saw him because he threw a little flat route to the back, and Ben was there, stepped in front of him, and scored a touchdown. And then things really got better for us after that first play of the game, and it was first play of the game, and it got really difficult for Simpson. I looked up at the clock, 14-0 after a 5-play drive by us, kickoff, another interception, return for a touchdown by Elijah Dubuque, our corner. Looked up at the clock, it's 12:32 and it's 21-0. We get the ball back, first possession, Buck goes 70-some yards down the sideline. I look up the clock, it's 10:32 and it's 28-0. And really, that doesn't happen very often in any kind of game. Circumstances for us and circumstances for them. It just played in that we got 2 turnovers for touchdowns, and we just really executed 7 plays and scored 14 more points. And then I will say to you this, Tim, this is the real good thing about a game like this. First of all, you feel pretty good about yourselves because you played very well. But I told Paul before you came in that we played 102 players on Saturday. 102 guys hit the field. That's unbelievable. It really is. And the only guys that didn't hit the field was when we had some 14, 15 deep at that position. And I always tell our players that I'm going to reward people that practice hard, have been with us. I always say in football, there's a chance to get your subs in certain times in games, and this was one of them. And we took our first-string quarterback out in the second quarter. And the first possession of the second quarter, Casey Moore went in, played our number 3 in the third quarter, and played our number 4 in the fourth quarter. And so we got a lot of guys. And Tim, it's real important for me to say this because guys work really hard in football. It's not fun practice like basketball and baseball. It is dang drudgery for some of those position groups. And you play a scout team and you simulate a scout team and you're getting hit. And boy, if you can get those guys into a game, it does wonders for the team morale, but also does wonders for a kids just feeling good about themselves. And so after that game, I felt really good that a majority, if not all of our players at most positions got to play. And I was really good that I thought our first team's offense and defense, as well as our second team's, executed our game plan and played pretty mistake-free until the second half when we got some of our down-the-line players in. That's to be expected. But overall, that first half was like, holy cow, I don't know if you could play any better in the first 9 minutes of the first quarter than we did. And although Simpson is struggling, I told our men, taking advantage of a team that's struggling is a sign of a good football team.
Well, one thing that we talked about, Jim Cloran and I, that you were probably pleased with was your team didn't seem to lose focus at all. Sometimes when you get up that big, you tend to
right.
play a little more relaxed,
Exactly.
lackadaisical perhaps, but you always seem to play sharp.
That was a very good point, Tim, by you guys. And I also said that when our seconds and thirds got in, I turned around and looked at our ones, and they were cheering and chanting. And I mean, that is god dang exciting, let me tell you, because we had a couple juniors that hadn't played. And it's their junior year, and they're hanging in there, being on our scout team, contributing, making major contributions on that part. But boy, you like to get rewarded. And those guys got out there, and our guys were chanting their names, and boy, they were really fired up. And when we got into halftime, you kind of thought maybe they'd be a little bit loose. They were really focused and really excited. We went back out, and I did have a couple guys ask me, my kicker specifically, Tim, asked me at halftime. I said, Liam, we're going to kick off in the second half. No, Coach, we kicked off in the first half. We're returning the second half. I said, no, Liam, I get to make that decision. We're kicking off. About 3 or 4 guys, Coach, why are we kicking off again? Did you notice out of the 42 points scored in the first half, only 1 was scored the opposite direction? So we went out in the second half and took the wind again, and it really worked out very well for us again. But overall, really nice performance by our football team.
You brought up the kicking game, and that was one thing that was pretty much perfect on the day. I think you had 5 touchbacks with the aid of the wind a little bit there, but also extra points, flawless there, and then your 1 field goal attempt was
right.
good.
We had talked about, he had a really nice game kicking. 9 for 9 extra points, as you mentioned, 1 for 1 in field goals, but he did a really nice job of kicking that ball off after the first 2 and really preventing those guys from getting some returns. Our punter had the first punt we made was an outstanding punt inside the 15-yard line. The second one wasn't quite as good, my friend, but the first one was really well placed and well executed. And we were really worried. Tim, we had talked about this on last Saturday, our Monday show, that Wartburg had put together a plan to try to block the punt. They didn't block, but people were copying that plan as we went along, so we were doing some things with our punt team. And we only had a punt twice, so it's really not a fair indication, but we did a great job protecting the punter.
More specifics on, I guess, stats of the ball game: 648 yards total offense, 31 first downs, and I looked that up. That was just 4 away from the school record for first downs in a game of 35, and really pretty balanced offensively with 288 on the ground and 360 through the air.
Tim, Matt's a really good friend of mine, the coach at Simpson, and in the fourth quarter, I told our guys we're not going to throw the ball. We're just not going to throw it. We're going to try to shorten this game, and we're going to try to run the ball, and we're going to let our guys, our running backs, and our backup offensive linemen and receivers, we're going to run the ball. And boy, they did a nice job of really taking control of the LOS and being able to run the ball. And even at the end there were a lot of guys in my ear saying, go ahead and score. This is going to be some kind of record, like I care. I just thought, let our guys play. Let's not do anything, because those things flip around in a coach's career, let me tell you that. And I have a lot of empathy for anybody's in that situation, making sure you're not trying to take advantage of a situation and rub somebody's face in it.
You mentioned Elijah Dubuque with 1 interception for a touchdown. He had another one in the ball game, and that's 5 for him on the season. So he's really been in the right place at the right time on at least 5 occasions.
I tell Elijah all the time, Guyman plays on the other side. You're going to get a lot of balls thrown at you, my friend.
We talked about that in our
yes.
broadcast.
And so we always say to Elijah, this is a chance for you to shine. And he's having an all-conference year. He had 6 unassisted tackles in that game also. 1 on a special team. He's on our kickoff team. He just really played a very good game. He's only a sophomore. And I want to say this to you, Tim. We were talking today, and Monday's our kind of our light day. We look at tape from Saturday's game, then we look at our upcoming opponent, and then we go do a kind of a walkthrough where we do some team stretch and do some things. We only have 1 senior starting on this football team. I mean, we are about as young as you can possibly get. And I hope, Tim, as I mentioned to you last Monday, that we're getting on that kind of situation now where we're going to play where we're capable of and do those kind of things. And Monday was this past Saturday was a really good game for us the entire game.
Well, we talked about, I think on our last show, spreading the wealth with the wide receivers that continued on Saturday, and now you right now have 3 of the top 8 receivers statistically in the American River.
Yeah, it's really interesting, Tim. I think we have 4 really, really good receivers, and our 5 and 6 could play for a lot of other teams. And I'll say this to you, Tim, again, not making any excuses. Our quarterback didn't play in game 2 because of a concussion. He's only played in a couple games, a half and a quarter. He's just starting to get to know his receivers right now. One of the things I have been able to view as we've played these past 6 games, it's pretty hard to double anybody on our football team. And then we have just a really explosive running back. Tim, Callion can take an off-tackle play and go 75 yards any time that it could happen. So we have been able to get a little bit better of trying to spread the wealth, if that's the right word, and it is, but to be able to get some matchups with our receivers, and if they get light in the box, to be able to run the ball. So I felt good about those things starting to come to fruition in the BV game and following into the Simpson game.
As we get ready for Game 7 on the schedule, talk about the progress of the offensive line, what they've done from Game 1 to now. In Game 1, there were a lot of jailbreaks going on, my friend, with our quarterback. Woo, a lot. And so, we look at the conference stats. We're second in the conference in giving up sacks, and that's starting a junior, a freshman, a sophomore, a freshman, and another freshman on Saturday. So we were really young on Saturday. Coach Crable, our offensive line coach, Ryan Crable, and Coach Hookstead, our coordinator, and Coach Dale Plessel, who's working with our tight ends, they have done an outstanding job developing some continuity and some consistency in there. And I still think we're going to get better, Tim, I really do. So as we continue on, I think that offensive line has really gelled or come together, and we're playing 6 or 7 of them. So, it takes a while to get to know the guy next to you about the stunts going on, all that. And I try to make that comparison with our quarterback and receiver play because they're all new. And so I see great levels of improvement going on, and we'll need it on Saturday because we're going to play a very physical Coe football team. Because you played some of your 2s and 3s later, you really hadn't been happy with seeing that complete game that you wanted to see yet. Is this as close to a complete game as what you've seen so far?
Yeah, put a little bit of a comma on that one because we did get 3 15-yard penalties in the fourth quarter off of our couple of our offensive linemen, and so that was disappointing. But we also had a fumble with our third-string quarterback and our fourth-string running back, and of course they don't get to work together much. But those things are disappointing, and the players would tell you, I'm hardly ever happy, Tim. I'm not very happy very often. But boy, the first half was fun, and the first quarter was exhilarating.
Yeah, at 28, actually 35-0, and then the first quarter went to the locker room leading 45-7, and then final score again 66-14. Anything else about this win, Coach, before we maybe move on?
I think it's a great win for morale. I really do. I think it's a great win when you get guys to play. I think it's a great win to win. It's the first time we had 2 in a row this year, and that sounds like that's not much, but boy, it's important for us because as we start going here now, we got to keep winning to keep ourselves in contention, and we still are in contention depending on what happens on this Saturday.
First time you got to raise the W flag at
home
field. And
absolutely.
They
did. Those guys were excited on Saturday, and I told the coaching staff, boy, I'm either getting old and loose or they were just excited. So, but they were, as I told you, they cheered for their teammates. All that stuff is good about football. That's important because you are supposed to have fun. So,
Coach, we'll talk about your opponent, the Coe College Cohawks, coming up this Saturday. When we return, we're going to take just a short break. We'll come back with more of the UD Football Show with head coach Stan Zweifel when we return in just a moment. back on the University of Dubuque Football Show on this Monday night, and thanks for tuning in on the broadcast on the YouTube channel, the University of Dubuque, and also udspartans.com, and you can catch the stream for this Saturday's game. There will be a link from the Coe College streaming link on udspartans.com, so you can watch if you can't make the ball game in Cedar Rapids, but it sounds like it's going to be another beautiful fall day to go watch the Spartans play in Cedar Rapids and support them as they take on the Coe College Cohawks. And you know, Coe, year in and year out, one of your rivals, and they're off to a good start, 4-1 to 3-0 in the American Rivers Conference.
They really are. They've their brand of football, Tim, has been what it's been probably since Tyler Staker took over for his father a couple years now. They're going to run the ball and be really physical. They have cut back a little bit on their throw game. They are going to try to run the ball inside the tackles, and they're going to wear you out. They play a very good brand of defensive football. They play a lot of cover two, which is rolled corners in the flat and two high safeties. We don't see that a lot. A lot of people don't do that, Tim, because when you play that coverage, you're a little bit light in the box for the run game, and I think they feel like their front seven is physical enough to play that two high safety look and still be able to take care of the run. They have a couple outstanding players on their defense. Number 9, a defensive tackle, is having a great year. A couple of their linebackers are very physical. But, Tim, what sticks out to me most when I watched them on tape now, and I've watched all 5 of their games, is they are going to play kind of old school football. They're going to run the football, they're going to stop the run, and then they're going to see how that thing all shakes down. So it'll be probably our most physical matchup, I think, since Wartburg in that aspect of it, where they're going to be really aggressive against the run and they're going to run the ball against you. I think a couple things are really going to figure into who wins this game, Tim. Number 1, we've got to stop them from hanging on the football. And I don't know if you recall last year's game, but they ran the football against us probably better than anybody did the whole year. And you know, in the first half, we hardly ever had the ball. And in the second half, we got the ball and came back to within 3 points and really had a chance to win that game, but they were able to restart their offense and run the ball. But when I look back at last year's game and I look back at what they're doing, that's their plan, is to physically wear you down and run the football. So we've got to get off the field defensively, and we got to take on their offensive line. Then conversely, on our side of the ball, I think we'll have some opportunities to throw it, Tim. I really do. And we had talked earlier in the show about we do have a lot of good receivers that we can place out in positions to get some matchups. We've been extremely accurate throwing the ball the last 2 games, Tim, and done a really good job of protecting. So we need to do that. And then I think, like every other game, we played really well on special teams on Saturday. We need that to continue. They have a return guy that returned a kick for a touchdown against Simpson of 95 yards. He's the leading kick returner in the league. He's their starting corner. He's a very dangerous man. And then they've got a couple weapons on their receivers. The Shepardson kid, who 2 years ago tore us up down there, although we were lucky enough to win the game. He's back, and I'm really he does a lot of good things that scare you as a coach. But I think the part of this game that will be most important, Tim, is can we match their physicality on both fronts?
Coe beat Cornell to open the season, lost to Hope, Michigan. That's the only loss of the season. Then conference wins over Univeristy, Simpson, and Luther. So really haven't been tested yet in American Rivers Conference play, as they've won those games pretty convincingly, except for the Univeristy game. Univeristy played them
really
with
tight,
score, right?
Really tight. Matter of fact, tight till about 11 minutes left in the fourth quarter. I think it ended up 14-3, Tim, if I recall that game correctly. We've really studied that game hard to see what BV did against their offense, and we also know that BV was able to throw the ball with some kind of effectiveness on Coe. But Coe, again, if you can't get them off the field and stop their run, you're going to have a hard time. Now to kind of dovetail on what you said, yeah, this is we're probably going to be one of the better teams they've faced at this point in time. Now, will we play like that? Only time will tell. but I'm really excited about where we are now, Tim. And I'm really excited about going down to Coe, because as you mentioned, Coe and us have had some really competitive games over there. Back to my first year here, some really competitive games. And one of the games I most remember, Tim, is in 2010 when they had the quarterback that was coming back as a two-time MVP, and we lost by 3 points in a really competitive game with him. And we've done well, and it's kind of a rivalry for us, and I think it's kind of a rivalry game for them. Just the proximity is part of it, but I'm really expecting a really good football game.
The all-time series, I think, is 19-11-1 in favor of Coe, but 8-4 since you've been head coach. You've got the edge there. Like you mentioned, the rushing attack leading the American Rivers right now, 209 yards, and it's not just one back. I mean, there are multiple backs.
They have two backs that are almost identical in statistics and carries and yards. One is a thick kid, and you got to get multiple helmets to him to stop him. And then the other kid's got a little bit of a change of direction, kind of like we've tried to do in the past couple of years, to have a, you know, our kid Buckner's got some shake, hard to tackle in the phone booth, and then Duckworth is kind of a guy, he's not going to put a lot of moves on, he's going to try to run over you. And I look at their two backs and see the same, but I think, Tim, where their strength lies is the physicality of their offensive line. They'll get in some two-back looks, and everybody knows they're going to run. The opposition knows they're going to run. They know they're going to run, and they've been able to kind of knock people off the ball. So that part we're really trying to gear up for. And I want to say this, Tim, to you, we're really making some modifications in our practice. We are not going to do a lot of contact this week. We are going to get our guys to be fresh and healthy. We're going to work on our scheme. We want our guys to be able to come out and play their most physical game of the season. And of course, we're in Game 7, and everybody in Game 7, something's hurting somewhere, just the way it is. And I've always been under the impression, as many years as I've coached, about after Game 6, 7 and 8, we make adjustment, less practice time, and 9 and 10, we take a lot of practice time off. So we've hit Game 7, we're over the halfway point, and we're going to modify our practices, let our kids get fresh, if that's the right word.
This is going to be a big game, too, as far as shaking more things out in the conference standings.
No question about it. If we would win that game, we would be 4-1, and Coe would be 3-1, and we'd be a full game behind whoever, the Wartburg, if they won, and if Loras wins, then we'd be tied. But if you get 2 losses right now, you're in trouble. I mean, it's pretty unrealistic to think Wartburg's going to lose twice in the last 4 games. So you got to maintain putting themselves in. And of course, Coe is saying we can be undefeated, and we'll be able to decide our own outcome when we play Wartburg if we keep that. So there's a lot on the line for both teams. I told our guys today it's another important game, but every game becomes more important as you move along the season if you keep winning. So I really believe we're going to be really, really prepared and excited for this game. One of the things when you prepare for a Coe team is, it's not like they're going to try and out-scheme you. They're going to out-physically you. And so then you just got to get your men lined up and hope that they can match the physicality of Coe.
Stan, any final thoughts as you get ready for game number 7 on the schedule?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to going down there. You talked about the weather. It's been a wonderful weather season with the exception of lacrosse and that nightmare of rain. But what we really are is, again, Tim, I'm excited that we're playing our best football as we get to the latter part of the season. And I thought we would, Tim, just because of all the new folks that we've got running around on both sides of the ball, and they're becoming a little bit more familiar with each other. And I think we're ready to play our best game of the season come down to Coe.
All right, let's hope next Monday night we're talking about a 4-1 Spartan team. With good luck as you take on the Coe College Cohawks. That's a 1 o'clock kickoff down in Cedar Rapids. And again, you can view the stream here on udspartans.com. And we'll talk with you next week, Coach, about the game, and then preview the homecoming contest will be coming up after that.
Yes, Tim. Thanks a lot. Good to see you, my friend.
All right. Head coach Stan Zweifel, coach of the University of Dubuque Spartans, joining us here on this Monday night. Well, the Heritage Center in Dubuque has a lot coming your way, especially during homecoming weekend. Tony Danza is going to be back with his standards and stories and with a preview of some things coming up at the Heritage Center. Here's Executive Director Tom Robbins.
Hey, I'm Tom Robbins, Director of Heritage Center at University of Dubuque, and October is a busy month here. Of course, we're celebrating our 10th anniversary season. We couldn't be more excited. For example, some things coming up. This next Friday, October 14th, our own UD band concert is going to be happening at 7 o'clock. Come enjoy the concert with our band program and support our Fine and Performing Arts Department. Free concert. You'll enjoy it. Then also coming up on Sunday, October 16th, we'll enjoy the sounds of organist Dexter Kennedy on our Dobson pipe organ, part of our John and Alice Butler pipe organ series. So that's 3 o'clock, tickets still available. And then we turn to homecoming week. We've got a long week filled with many activities, but the highlight is at the very end on Saturday, October 22nd with Tony Danza. Of course, our accomplished 1972 alum, star of stage and screen. People will remember him from his time on Taxi and on Who's the Boss. He was a Broadway star in shows like The Producers and Honeymoon in Vegas. So we look forward to Tony. Again, that's Saturday, October 22nd. And then on the heels of that, we have Grammy Award-winning Western music royalty, Riders in the Sky. Just an audience favorite and an audience pleaser on Friday, October 28th. Tickets available for that. And then in November, we launch into a couple of events in our smaller venue, the Babka Theater, where we will have a family show with Peter and the Wolf, a puppet show. Those are the Eulenspiegel puppets out of Iowa City. And then actually that same night in Babka Theater, so it's 2 shows in one day, that same night we have Piano Fondue, which is a dueling piano show at 8 o'clock. So 1 o'clock with Peter and the Wolf, 8 o'clock Piano Fondue. That's Saturday, November 5th. So get tickets for all of our shows at the Farber box office, 11 to 2, Monday through Friday, either in person or over the phone at 585-SHOW, that's 585-7469, or online at any time at dbq.edu/Heritage Center. And don't forget, when you're buying your tickets, to inquire about our new rewards program, HPALS, that's Heritage Performing Arts Loyalty System. When you're online, you can check a box that enrolls you in the program, or just ask about it at the box office and start earning rewards right away. We hope to see you soon at Heritage Center for some great live events. Hey, I'm Tom Robbins, Director of Heritage Center at University of Dubuque, and October is a busy month here. Of course, we're celebrating our 10th anniversary season. We couldn't be more excited. For example, some things coming up. This next Friday, October 14th, our own UD band concert is going to be happening.
For joining us to give us a preview of what's coming up at the beautiful Heritage Center facility on the University of Dubuque campus. And thanks again to Stan Zweifel for joining us here on the UD Football Show a little bit earlier. Make sure you catch the Spartan game right here on udspartans.com, and also the YouTube channel. They'll have the replay of this as well available on the YouTube channel, this program. And we'll be back here next Monday night from the coach's office to bring you the next UD Football Show with Stan Zweifel, 6 o'clock next Monday night. So I'm Tim Lary. Have a great Monday evening.